Over the past decade, I have exclusively owned adjustable benches that have leg developers, preacher curl attachments, and more in pursuit of the best option for my home gym. Earlier this year, I decided to go all in on my pursuit and snag 6 of the most decked out options and have them compete side by side. Over the past 6 months, I've done damn near everything you could think of with a bench, testing every attachment, even exceeding weight limits multiple times. And today, we're going to walk through all of it, so you can decide what bench and its available attachments is the right addition for your home gym. And now, introducing our competitors. In the green corner, coming from Pennsylvania, the commercial, the heavy hitter, the bicep bomber, the prime Shorty. In the white corner, coming from Colorado, the lightweight, the bench king, the rep NightHawk. In the blue corner, from North Dakota, the creative, the unique, the wide body bench. In the yellow corner, from Canada, the heavyweight, the bomb-proof, the bells of steel Buzzsaw. In the orange corner, from California, the new kid on the block, the fully stacked, the freak Athlete ABX. In the red corner, from Washington, the OG, the reigning champ, the Ironmaster Super Bench Pro V2. For the millions of home gym owners across the globe, ladies and gentlemen, from the Gray Matter Lab, let's get ready to rumble! What's up everyone, Joe Gray here today to talk about adjustable benches that take attachments. In today's video, we are going to walk through the high-level pros and cons of every bench and its attachments mentioned already today. And I will also be mentioning and discussing benches and attachments that I have historically owned, other options on the market, as well as items coming down the road here very soon. At the end of today's video, I'm hoping you'll be informed enough that you know which benches and attachments you want to dig into further. In the description, I will have links to any additional resources, including full written reviews for the vast majority of the items we talk about today, buying guides, discount codes to help you save some cash on some of these, and more. The benches highlighted today come to me in a mixed fashion. The Prime Shorty, Rep NightHawk, Bells of Steel Buzzsaw, and Freak Athlete ABX were sent to me for free alongside the attachments for sake of this project. I also have an affiliate link with all of them, and all 4 happen to sponsor my garage gym competition. The Ironmaster Super Bench and attachments were purchased with an affiliate discount, and the wide body bench was bought for full retail, and I do not have an affiliate link or anything like that. I ran a 10-week Juggernaut AI bench spec program for this project. I have spent the last 2.5 months thinking about researching, testing, and reviewing almost exclusively items for this project. It cost me over $3,000 out of my pocket, and just the writing of the reviews and this video took up the entire month of September and into October. All of that is possible because a lot of you happen to use my affiliate links and participate in the garage gym competition. Using those links and lifting in the GGC costs you nothing, helps me out tremendously. I believe as we proceed, hopefully we'll see that it doesn't really change my opinion on the equipment that I'm reviewing. I appreciate your support. Let's dig in. Many home gym enthusiasts have deemed adjustable benches with attachments as nothing short of terrible, but I have always thought the trade-offs were worth it. I'd take a subpar plate-loaded leg extension over no leg extension any day of the week. I own the original Ironmaster Super Bench as one of my first adjustable benches with attachments. It was solid, but the setup time wasn't ideal. I found a used PowerTech Lever Gym as my next adjustable bench with attachments. The leg developer wasn't terrible, and the bench itself was mostly trash. I replaced that bench with the Hoist HF4165, which came with a leg developer, but I quickly found out that while the Hoist was a better bench than the PowerTech, it didn't pair nicely with the lever gym. We eventually replaced that with the Inspire FT2 and SCS bench. The SCS bench is very similar to the Hoist, has the same leg developer, but the kicker is the leg developer connects directly into the FT2. After using essentially every bench that takes attachments over the last few years, and especially in the last several weeks, I have a few big takeaways for us to lead into our discussion. First, most bench attachments are not cross-compatible. There are some compatibility options, sometimes, but most are not. Second, sometimes you have to sacrifice on the bench a little bit when buying into an attachment ecosystem. And third, there isn't one perfect bench for all home gyms. Different spaces, different budgets, different sized athletes all require a slightly different bench. All right, keep those ideas in mind. Let's dive into some of these benches. The Prime Shorty, Rep NightHawk, the Wide Body, the Bells of Steel Buzzsaw, and the Freak Athlete ABX all have a ladder design for their back pad adjustments. The Wide Body uses an almost reversed design from how the other benches work though. The problem here is that a typical ladder adjustment is a one-hand operation that simply drops into place as you adjust further up the incline. It's nice, it's simple, it works. Where the Wide Body requires more effort to get where you want to go. It is also all metal and not labeled for the adjustment angles. The Shorty loads up on lower angle options to support more choices for setting up their attachments, and on top of this, most people are going to spend more time in a lower incline for pressing, prone rows, and other movements. So having options in the middle to lower range instead of in the top range makes sense in my book. The Buzzsaw is the only bench that has a true decline feature of all of the ones we're looking at today, which is a nice option for those looking for that. But the ladder adjustment is again all metal on metal, and their adjustment angles jump around in kind of random increments from 0 to 20 to 35 to 45 to 60, 70, and 85. It's just a weird assortment of angles instead of choosing 15 degrees like the NightHawk and ABX. And then the Ironmaster kicks the ladder to the curb and uses a unique adjustment column. The design here has you step on one side and raise and lower the bench and then lock it in place. Another benefit to this design, which we'll cover some more as we get into the attachments, is that it significantly lowers the weight of the bench and removes a lot of the frame that can get in the way of creative uses. You get some different assortments of angles, some different adjustment processes, and some different finishing touches from each of these benches and different options. If I'm picking a bench solely based on the adjustment process, I'm taking either the Rep NightHawk or the Freak Athlete ABX. The ladder system, whether it is played out or not, is super simple and easy to use with just one hand. The fully enclosed ladder adds a little extra safety and peace of mind and improves the experience. The angles are consistent, the finishing touches of the knurling and more just put these benches over the top. Mobility and storage are a key consideration for a good bench in a home gym. So let's take a look at vertical storage. I can store multiple benches vertically in the same space that one bench can store flat. So for me, in a home gym, vertical storage is an absolute deal breaker at this point. The Prime Shorty bench and Wide Body bench do not have vertical storage options. Prime told me 2 years ago when I did my first look video in August of 2023 that it was coming soon. We actually saw the vertical storage for the Shorty at Home Gym Con and it worked great, but it still isn't available as of recording this. The Wide Body bench weighs 130 pounds, has a handle that pivots, and the wheels are fairly small and do not spin very smoothly. So moving it around is doable, but could use some improvements. The Prime Shorty weighs 100 pounds, has some exceptional wheels, but the handle is on one side of the bench. The struggle here, compared to having it on the front, is it turns moving the bench into a suitcase carry. The Buzzsaw has vertical storage, but remember the lack of the enclosed ladder cage and the decline feature? Those combine into a scenario where the ladder can come loose, drop into decline mode, and then require you to set the bench down flat, put it back into position before storing vertically again. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but if you add the attachment adapter, which I think you should for this bench, it goes on the front of the bench, right where the handle was, meaning that you no longer have a handle for a 100+ pound bench. So you have to try and lift the bench up with no handle and wheel it around the gym. The Rep NightHawk and ABX managed to find a nice balance between weight, mobility, and stability that just seems to work out well. They have caps on the rear wheels that improve stability and vertical storage. The wheels are smooth and easy to use, whether in a flat open floor or up and over a platform. The handles, while we never needed knurled handles on a bench, they are the right size with that little bit of tactile feedback that just feels secure on the hand. The Super Bench is the lightest bench of them all. In fact, it is so light I found it easier to just pick up and put wherever I wanted instead of wheel it around the gym. I actually ended up asking my assistant to give us a demo of moving each of these benches around, so let's see how she did. All right, everyone, I am here with my daughter, Audrey. We're gonna walk through each of the benches. She's gonna try and pick them up and move them. She's gonna start with the Bell's Buzzsaw. So that's this bench right here. So I don't even know if you can get your hands under there or anything. No, okay. Can you grab it from here maybe and lift it? Nope, okay. So, Buzzsaw fails. Got it? Okay. How easy / hard was that?
That was medium, not too hard and not too easy.
Okay. All right, so next is gonna be the wide body bench. Also does not have vertical storage. So go for it. All right, what do we think?
I think that was also a medium.
Okay, how did it roll?
It fighted me a little bit.
So it's a little stiff?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the wheels are kind of small. They're not on bearings or anything like that that I can tell. So it definitely sticks quite a bit. The Rep NightHawk.
Okay.
So this one has vertical storage. So we're gonna start it like that.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, how was that?
That was probably moving it and picking it up was probably like an easy stance, but putting it back up was like maybe a medium.
Okay, so this is the Ironmaster Super Bench. So go ahead, friend. Okay, how'd that one go?
Medium, but the putting it back up was probably more of an easy one.
Okay. When I carry this one and I move it, I just go like this. Freak Athlete ABX. How easy was that to move around?
Hard.
It was hard to move around?
That was really hard.
Is that because it's heavy?
Yes,
Okay.
it's really heavy.
Okay, and how about getting it up and down?
That was really hard.
Yeah?
Too.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So it's quite a bit heavier than a few of the other ones. The one thing I have noticed for me is that, like, even right here, the wheels don't go. It catches a bit more. Which one was the easiest out of all of them?
Best out of all
Like
of them.
if you were gonna keep a bench to move around the gym, what was the best one for you?
Probably the Ironmaster.
Okay, because it's the lightest and
Yeah.
easiest to move around.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're gonna give something a second place, what would be second?
The NightHawk.
NightHawk, okay. And then the Buzzsaw didn't get up.
No.
What would be third?
That one.
You'd give Prime the next one?
Prime the
So
next
Freak
one.
Athletes one, ABX was the hardest?
Yeah.
Okay. That's Audrey's take on the maneuverability for benches, but they all have pros and cons. So hopefully that helps. Thanks, Audrey. Say bye.
Bye.
Okay, now obviously Audrey's experiences are a little bit different than yours might be. You are probably not an 8-year-old girl. The concept of having multiple athletes in your gym might be a realistic piece to the puzzle for you. So consider her experiences as well as mine as you make a decision on the right bench for you. If I'm picking a bench solely based on vertical storage and mobility, I'm taking the Rep NightHawk first, the Freak Athlete ABX second, and a very close third, maybe even a 3-way tie of all of them is the Ironmaster, simply because of how light it is. While the aesthetics and finishing touches don't impact the performance of the bench, I do think a lot of us care about them. So let's take a look. The Prime Shorty is a commercial bench with how it is overall built and put together. But interestingly enough, it still has plastic end caps, and the front post pad is one of the most confusing elements of this bench, as it just falls off. There was no attempt to secure it at all. I ended up using a spray adhesive to keep mine on after filming that piece. They do gain some bonus points for the custom color options available for the bench, the clean cuts, welds, and just overall presentation of the bench as a whole, and the super cool Made in USA plaque on the underside of the bench. The Shorty is the only Made in USA bench in this roundup. The wide body bench is very much a Gen 1 offering from a small independent company. It is literally one dude doing everything compared to all of these others. So we have plastic end caps, which have cracked and fallen off. We have a very mediocre powder coat that has scratched and dinged. We have loose tolerances, metal on metal pieces, and more. The install process even included a large amount of soot that got everywhere, and I was told that this was perfectly normal. The Ironmaster is a fairly clean and simple bench, but it is also fairly old school. Again, we have plastic end caps, which can definitely fall off. It only comes in black. The Ironmaster logo itself is an adhesive sticker, and the handle isn't knurled, it is just a handle. Overall, we have a clean and simple presentation that works, just nothing fancy. The Buzzsaw is similar in that it is a flat black powder coat throughout, has rubber handles for the latter, and no UHMW protection. The hardware is all black, unless if you add the attachment adapter on the front. When we look at something like the Rep NightHawk, it comes in multiple color options. The handles are all fully knurled with a nice nickel plating that creates a clean aesthetic and contrast compared to the powder coat, which kind of just lets you know where your hands are supposed to go. All the hardware is powder coated to match the bench, and they chose flat nuts and bolts throughout that creates a very sleek look. Even when we compare the fully welded end caps from the NightHawk and the Buzzsaw, there's just an extra level of effort to smooth out the edges and create something pleasing to the eye. The NightHawk feels like it was designed by an architect. The ABX takes a very close second place to the NightHawk. They did a great job with the white and black contrast powder coat. There's even some cool fleck in the black paint. They have welded end caps, and if this bench was by itself in your gym, you would have a very gorgeous bench. There are some minor aesthetic choices like the powder coated handles instead of nickel, the more standard bolts and nuts instead of the flat, almost recessed ones that give the NightHawk a small win. If I'm choosing a bench on appearances and finishing touches, once again, I'm giving the nod to the NightHawk, with the ABX coming in a very close second. One of the most important aspects of an adjustable bench, even one that takes attachments, is that it performs well as a basic bench. Most home gym owners aren't going to own 2, 3, or 7 options just to get it all done. So, the Prime Shorty is the only bench in this roundup without some kind of grippy vinyl texture to the padding. It also is the thinnest pad in terms of the thickness and the width. This is because this bench is designed for bodybuilders, not for powerlifters. This can be a struggle if you plan to own only one bench in your home gym. You'll have to get creative in how you address leg drive for flat barbell benching, how you combine the bench with other toys in your gym, or you may possibly have to decide to own a dedicated flat bench depending on your needs. When we look at accessory movements, because the Shorty has its top pad that comes off, we get options that we don't get with every other bench. Prone rows are comfortable because you have less width to the bench, but also because your face isn't crammed into the padding. Shoulder press work seems to benefit from a little thoracic extension, which we get here as well. And because the pad gap situation is very creatively solved on the Shorty, we don't have any issues at any angle adjustments with bolts poking us in the backside. The Ironmaster Superbench Pro V2 is IPF spec height, has their hybrid style pad, which means we can have a wider pad for pressing options, but it doesn't have the fully tapered front feet, which can possibly get in the way of some lifter setup. It has the new grippy vinyl, and it is rated to 1,000 pounds, but the padding is a little softer than some of the other benches. This is more in the direction of a possible one and done bench for a home gym than the Shorty though. It still might not live up to the needs of larger athletes. If you've seen any reviews on the Ironmaster before, you know that their incline seat pad isn't exactly a fan favorite. You can adjust the height of the seat in 3 ways, meaning that we get a similar no face in the pad setting as the Shorty, but the seat is always perpendicular to the back pad. So at lower angles, where you probably want a slightly lower angle for the seat, you just can't. The seat pad is also fairly small. For those of us who take up our fair share of a chair, this can be uncomfortable. But since the seat isn't permanently attached, we have no real pad gap issues to worry about, especially when flat barbell benching. The wide body bench has a fairly large pad gap and the bolt is only slightly recessed. So you're going to need to check your measurements for flat barbell work here. We have a tapered front post, which is great. The vinyl is kind of grippy, probably enough that it should work for most lifters that aren't putting in a ton of leg drive. The biggest issue with the wide body bench for a typical home gym bench is the attachment posts. They are permanently affixed to the bench, which means that if you just want to do a normal press or prone row or anything of that nature without the use of the pads, you'll need to be aware of the posts sticking out of the side. Some things will work fine while others will be very close and some will not work at all. The Buzzsaw bench has grippy vinyl, is rock solid steady. The back pad is 36 inches long, which is probably good enough for anyone 6 feet or under, depending on your arch. They don't do much to address the pad gap, so again, you need to measure there and double check your own needs. The pads are very firm, fairly wide, and everything about this bench says I can be your only bench. One thing to note is how long the bench is in total though, especially with the attachment adapter. It was long enough that the front feet come completely off my platform. The NightHawk is very similar to the Buzzsaw in terms of the overall basic bench functions. Firm pads, grippy vinyl, very similar basic measurements, pad gap notes, and more. However, the NightHawk is shorter in total length, meaning that it fit on my platform. So a slight bonus point there. The ABX is also a similar overall bench design and build. Grippy vinyl, firm pads, decent width and length. But the ABX has a unique solution for the pad gap. It automatically adjusts at each angle, creating a no gap solution throughout. And the ABX has a fold down head pad that they partnered with Exponent Edge on, giving us similar options as the Shorty, but also opening up a bunch more creative opportunities for rows, curls, and other things. If I'm taking one bench for the sake of being my only home gym bench, I think the ABX takes the slight lead because of the general build alongside the no gap solution and the folding headrest compared to the NightHawk and Buzzsaw. All right, my friends, we have arrived. Attachment time. I'm going to talk about these bench attachments as well as some hacks and DIY type stuff here, combining with other items in the gym. The Prime Shorty has 3 main attachments, a decline sit-up piece, which works well, but only gives us a little bit of decline range. Anything past 45 degrees and you're going to topple over. It'll work for decline pressing movements as well, though I haven't done those outside of for this project in multiple years. The other 2 attachments are both biceps. We have the elbow pads, which give us a support for incline dumbbell curls. The preacher pad and cradle are actually pretty fantastic. The preacher pad can be adjusted to a few different heights. The only issue that this also adjusts the angle. So for smaller or much larger athletes, you might run into some issues getting the right setting. The cradle can be set up for dumbbells, or you can add the UHMW pieces to create a barbell rack as well. My favorite variation was connecting my Voltra with a cable attachment and doing a really nasty preacher curl variation here. This honestly might be worth the price of admission all on its own. This was mind-blowing. Because the head pad comes off, I was able to get creative with the Anchor Pro as well and do some seated overhead triceps extensions. These absolutely left me sore for multiple days. Highly recommended. We're also going to mention here the Smart Arm. I really love the creativity. I struggle with the function in a typical home gym. There's definitely something cool about the Smart Arm, but I think much like the Shorty bench, it belongs in a very specific kind of home gym. Ironmaster has the most decked out attachment lineup without question. We've got everything from a leg developer to a dip attachment to a full cable machine. I'm really mixed on my overall feedback for the Ironmaster attachments though. I was able to load the leg developer up to 300 pounds for leg extensions and it seemed to handle it fine. The cable tower handled everything I tossed at it, and the sheer number of attachment options can let you build a gym around this bench. No other bench on the market does this and does it this well. But the leg developer has no real way to make adjustments to the rollers outside of taking them entirely off and resetting them. It also is your typical plate loaded offering, meaning we have more setup time and an inconsistent weight curve. The attachments all work well beyond their stated weight, but Ironmaster is kind of running a if it ain't broke, don't fix it model with their designs, which, to be perfectly fair, is a valid model. I've never had more positive comments about equipment when posting about this bench. And the cool thing about a really passionate community around a product is the creativity that comes from it. Their equipment is so lightweight and easy to carry around that storing it is fairly easy. Ironmaster's lineup is decked out, fully functional, and can radically change your home gym overnight, or legitimately be your entire home gym. It just isn't in line with the best of the best on the market today. The wide body bench has the most creative attachment options available. They all have some really nice finishing touches like the chrome posts, actual bearings for the pivot points, and multiple pop pin adjustments. The elbow pads adjust in a lot of angles alongside the bench adjusting, which lets you perform a lot of movements. These are probably what the prime Shorty elbow pads should be. When you take the elbow pads off, you see how the attachment port works. With all of the grooves comes angle adjustments, which is awesome for dialing in what you want, but we get a couple issues. First is that it can be very difficult to get the attachments on and off. If we jump from the elbow pads to the press arms, we notice a couple other issues. First is that you absolutely have to add the additional stabilization bar on the back and the locking bar on the ladder. Don't, you can have some trouble. Even with these on, the bench is still pretty unbalanced. You have to spend quite a bit of time trying to find the right setup for all of these. The handles are also very narrow, so much so that I struggled to even get into the bench properly. The only way for me to get into a working position for chest press with the press arms was to scooch down the seat and have a very specific hand placement and setup and pressing pattern that I found to be very uncomfortable. I had similar experiences with the bicep attachment. The pivot points didn't seem to line up correctly to a natural curl, leaving me with a very awkward movement where I felt like I was fighting the machine instead of feeling really locked in like a good preacher curl machine would do. The chest fly, on the other hand, was pretty great. It takes a very similar design to the Arsenal Reloaded incline fly, arguably the best option on the market. It felt pretty freaking fantastic. With the press and curl attachments, I actually brought multiple people in to try them. None of us were able to instinctively get these attachments to work. Changing angles, changing weights, changing setup, all just felt off. I really hate that this is where I landed, but after multiple months of trying, getting feedback from the owner via DMs, trying with multiple athletes, I just couldn't make them work comfortably in my gym. The Buzzsaw gets a point for being the first major home gym company to offer a bench with attachments. Woo! But loses it immediately since it works off an adapter that kind of ruins the bench. You have to take the handle off, as mentioned, which is just crazy to me that they looked at that and said, yeah, that'll work. The attachments have pretty loose tolerances, so you slide the attachment in, it wobbles side to side as you try and line up the holes and get the pin through, which is a recipe for frustration. The leg developer is much like the Ironmaster, basic in its execution. Unfortunately, because of the way the adapter works, it is very shaky. You also need to adjust the seat up so you can get the leg developer high enough so your feet clear the ground and the bench itself. Again, we have no adjustment options for different size athletes. We have a powder coated weight pin and the leg curl just seems to not fit, as you can see it roll all the way up my calves in use. The leg roller is an interesting one. At first looks, this would be used for decline sit-ups, but in no world am I comfortable declaring that this is a decline sit-up. Other benches can use their leg roller for Nordics, but because the bells attaches to the front of the bench instead of the back, you can actually use the bench adjustments to perform Nordic regressions. The preacher curl attachment was the one I was most excited for. The padding is solid, angles are good, and since we can adjust the attachment up and down, we actually have the ability to dial this in for multiple athletes. The included handle needs some work though, as the grips are loosely attached and slip and slide in use. You can remove the handle and use any attachment you want. This feature has some pros and cons as well though, because you need to be able to adjust it with some chain. The preacher pad has a nice set of metal hooks to catch your attachment. I'd like them to be UHMW covered, but here we are. But the real problem is that when you curl up, these hooks hit the padding on the preacher curl. I don't know how anyone used this and said, yeah, that's fine, but here we are. These metal hooks will start to wear at the vinyl and eventually tear it. The Freak Athlete ABX comes with their leg developer, decline roller, and dip attachment. The dip attachment is pretty standard in concept. It won't compete against my Mutant Meadows UDA, but it works. I'd ideally like to see it angled out at a 45-degree angle because that would give you multiple handle width options for different sized athletes and preferences, but I do approve of using the bench post as a step to get into place. The decline sit-up is another basic attachment. They included a handle, which is great for easier getting in and out, but overall it's a decline sit-up attachment. The leg developer is the real winner here. They took what worked well on the Hyper Pro and improved it. We now have a fully integrated leg curl and leg extension attachment with multiple adjustment options for different sized athletes. It can be plate loaded or cable driven. The leg developer also has new padding, which is much more reminiscent of a commercial leg extension, and it has built-in handles to help keep the big boys in place for heavier sets. And they just let me know about a bicep curl attachment they have coming, giving you some preacher curl and incline curl capabilities. And on paper, we are looking at an attachment lineup that has a little more thought put into it for the average home gym user in the year 2025. And the Rep NightHawk has no attachments, kind of. We got to test out the Rep leg developer shortly at Home Gym Con with some mixed experiences. I have confirmation that I will be getting one likely in November, so stay tuned for that. And then of course we have the dialed motion leg developer, which was a huge hit. I'll definitely have one for sure, but that won't be until probably 2026. An extra one for you, I was sent the Gentleman Fitness Club leg developer for this project, and the on-paper specs are great. Universal for any bench, meaning it could work for the wide body or the NightHawk. It has adjustment options for different sized athletes and has some cool finishing touches. But in use, I found it to be a pretty poor performer. Because it doesn't actually lock into the bench, it works for leg extensions up to 3 plates, but as soon as I go up to 4 plates, the bench underneath me tends to lift up, meaning I have no way of progressing this leg developer further. Some other reviewers have commented about being able to hook this up to their cable machine for cable-driven leg extensions. I rarely say that other content creators are wrong. Hooking up a leg developer that is not anchored down by anything to a cable machine that is pulling it out from underneath you is a bad idea. Leg curls are also pretty useless as the pivot point doesn't go far enough. I mean, it goes far enough if you cut your reps short, but we don't do that here. Okay, let's talk about the most important piece to this all, which bench is right for you. Overall, there is no perfect adjustable bench with attachments. The Buzzsaw has true decline where the others don't. The wide body has the most creative attachments. The Ironmaster is the lightest. The NightHawk is great for all purposes, but the Shorty is better for bodybuilding. Do you need decline? Personally, I don't. I don't see it in my Juggernaut AI programming. I don't see bodybuilders doing decline pressing often, if at all, and decline sit-ups are Do you need a leg developer? Maybe you have a dedicated leg extension and leg curl machine, or already have the Hyper Pro leg developer. Maybe you are the only lifter in your gym, so you don't need adjustments and aren't worried about a light and easy to move bench. Or maybe you watched this entire video and decided that benches with attachments sound like too much work and not worth the frustration. The decision really comes down to you, your gym, your goals, your space, your budget. If you found this video helpful, hopefully you'll check out the links in the description to take you further on your journey, finding the perfect adjustable bench, hopefully with attachments for your home gym. If I had to crown one bench with its own ecosystem of attachments as the current winner of the showdown, I'm going with the Freak Athlete ABX. It is a well-designed bench, has the attachments I want with the features I want, is aesthetically pleasing. It actually already matches my color scheme, and knowing Freak Athlete, there is probably more to come with this bench as well. I'm also keeping the NightHawk because I'll be reviewing the Rep leg developer and Dialed Motion leg developer as well. The other benches are going to make their way to various parties as I claim a significant amount of my gym back. I am absolutely wiped on benches right now, so I hope that the effort and the time and everything shows up in this video, in the reviews, everything like that, and it helps all of you make a better decision. All right, friends, that is the adjustable bench with attachments showdown. Would you pick a different winner of the showdown? Do you have a favorite adjustable bench? Think bench attachments are stupid? Drop it in the comments below. If you liked this showdown concept and want to see one for Nordic benches, check out this video right here. You want to make sure you don't miss anything I'm working on, behind the scenes details, exclusive training tips from coaches and lifters, first thoughts on new products, sales, and more. Sign up for my newsletter. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll be back with more home gym awesomeness for all of you very soon.